Hi, this is Chris Kubiak with the Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania. We're talking about some of the important tree species that we have here in Western Pennsylvania and their importance to the general ecosystem. And this is one of my favorite trees here. This is Tsuga's canadensis, or the eastern hemlock. A lot of people don't know this is actually Pennsylvania's state tree. It was adopted in 1931. This tree is a really important component of ecosystems for a whole host of reasons. One, there's a number of bird species that are really dependent on the eastern hemlock, especially black-burning warblers and magnolia warblers, who use this tree for breeding purposes as well as foraging. So a lot of birds, other birds like pine siskins, the crossbills, will actually, and you can see the difference in some of these pine cones here, are significantly smaller than the eastern white pine, and again, they have really tiny seeds that they will get in and pull them out there. There's a number of other different insect species that will use this. One in particular is a really bad one, and it was introduced. It's an invasive species called the woolly Adelgid that is actually essentially, it looks like a type of aphid, and it looks like little cotton balls. Thankfully, this tree I've looked at doesn't have it, but it is slowly killing the eastern hemlocks here in eastern North America, and it literally will look like little cotton balls, and it sucks the juices out of the tree and eventually will defoliate it. And we're losing our hemlocks because of the Adelgid across its entire range, really in the south in the Great Smoky Mountains, but it is moving here into Pennsylvania as well. This tree is also important because you often will find it in shady areas along streams and creeks, and this grows to be pretty large, and it will also help shade and keep creeks cool, which a lot of native fish like the brook trout like to use. So a very important tree. So what you see here, we've got two very large specimens here of the eastern hemlocks. These trees here are probably 100 years old, maybe older, and these trees can grow pretty tall. Some of them can grow over 100 feet. Pretty straight tree. Interesting enough, this is a very long-lived tree. In fact, in Pennsylvania, one of the oldest specimens of the eastern hemlock is up in Tionesta, where there's a tree that they have dated to be over 550 years old. So these are very long-growing trees. About 5,000 years ago, before present era, eastern hemlocks really contracted in their range. They were much further across eastern North America, and they're not quite sure why they contracted, but eventually whatever it was went away, or they overcame it and they spread back out, but never over the bulk of range that they used to have. But as you can see with these two guys here, they're really old trees, really beautiful trees as well, and we need to protect them and help them when the Adelgid comes here to Pennsylvania. And we have found it in a number of spots here in Western PA. It's not pervasive just yet, but it's starting to get there. So really one of the most important trees, I would argue, that we have here in Western Pennsylvania, and really is sort of part of the climax of our forests here, is the oaks. And what you see in front of me here, these are two specimens of relatively mature white oaks. White oaks are one of a number of different oak species we have here in our forests of Western Pennsylvania, from black oaks to northern red oaks, scarlet oak, shingle oak, and a number of other different oaks that you'll find. There's swamp white oak around here in Western PA. So we got another cool tree here. This is Malus coronaria. This is our only native apple to this part of North America. You may have heard as American as apple pie, but the apples that you get from grocery stores and the culinary apples are actually not native to North America. They're from Asia in the Tian Shan Mountains. What you see here with this rough bark, these guys are pretty important components of the forest, and a lot of birds will eat the fruits, which are very sour for people, but they have some really neat features to them, particularly if you look at them. Apples are in the rose family. You can see they have what looks like thorns to them here, and as you can see on the trunk going up there, they will sometimes get them coming off the trunk as well. You can see there's some invasive bittersweet on them. But there's a lot of theories as why, and again, it is in the rose family, so a lot of rose, of course, has thorns, but most domestic apple trees that we grow, Malus domestica, doesn't have this. And a lot of the theories are this was essentially an adaptation in their evolution to stop larger browsers like mastodons and giant ground sloths during the Pleistocene Era, which is the Ice Age. So if you look at this tree here, it has a lot of these different thorns coming out of the branches, and you can imagine probably if you're a bigger animal, you're not going to want to be biting down on this. Get really pretty pink blooms and blossoms when they flower in April. A lot of insects are attracted to that, a lot of native pollinators, and of course a lot of birds then come in, will forage and glean these insects off of it, either in their migration or during the breeding season.